Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're discussing the role of the Custodes moving forward. General spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from across the Warhammer 40k universe, so you have been warned, and with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, whether you're a fan of the Emperor's Custodes or not, you have to admit they are simply a level above. Even in the days of the Great Crusade, the height of the Legiones Astartes, the 10,000 were not to be messed with. Bigger, stronger, faster than anything save a Primarch, the Emperor's bodyguard represented the pinnacle of the master of mankind's creations. While the Astartes are mass-produced soldiers, the Custodes are each individually a work of art, every moment of their existence dedicated to the master of mankind. As we know, in the aftermath of the Siege of Terror, the Emperor's ascension to the Golden Throne, the Custodes retreated from the galaxy behind the walls of the Imperial Palace, having singularly failed in their duty. There behind those walls, they would remain for the next 10,000 years, until the return of Rebute Guilliman, with the Lord Commander assuming control of the Imperium once more. The Edict of Restraint was rescinded, and the Custodes once more were unleashed across the galaxy in force. And that leads us to where we are today. The Custodes have become focal points in many important endeavours across the galaxy, maybe most notably leading the Torchbearer fleets, taking the Primaris technology to the embattled chapters wherever they may be. With such a precious and valuable resource needing to be delivered, the Custodes were surely the only logical choice. They have contingents within the Indomitus fleets, literal and figurative figureheads of the Emperor's might, and Tribune Colquhoun was assigned as liaison between Valoris and Guilliman, accompanying the returned Primarch upon crusade, and to watch over him, for not even a Primarch falls out of the Custodes' suspicion. The scars of the heresy remain. Most recently within the galaxy, with the fall of Indomitus Fleet Quartus, and Khorne unleashing his power into the material world, not only did virtually the entire fleet become consumed by the Blood God's rage, but a vast portion of Imperium Nihilus too felt the flood of Khorne's power. Even the faithful Sisters of Battle could not resist the Chaos God's call. Yet the Custodes proved immune. Now they weren't alone. Their fellow Talons of the Emperor, the Sisters of Silence, and the Grey Knights too were incorruptible, defying the Blood God's power. But it all does raise the question, is it time for the Custodes to be wielded more forcefully moving forward? We've discussed how the Grey Knights are needed now more than ever before, with me raising the question of them expanding to become a legion, how that could be truly invaluable to the Imperium moving forward. Yet the Custodes already are a legion, and in face of this latest tragedy to befall the Imperium, is it time the Custodes act like it? Is it time they are wielded as the legion they are? Now this is an intriguing question with many factors and layers, none more so than the fact a sizable portion of their strength must always remain within the palace to defend the Emperor, their prime and only duty. However, with the return of the Anathema Psychana, the Sisters of Silence, to active duty, the Talons of the Emperor could surely wield a truly formidable force if they wanted to. The logic of having the Custodes deployed far and wide is a good one. A single squad of these warriors is a force capable of routing hordes of enemy. They alone could make the difference between victory and defeat. So having a detachment of them in as many task forces as possible sounds not only viable, but practical. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And like I said earlier, the very symbol the Custodes represent is truly something only a Primarch can surpass. Even the Astartes can't match the inspiration and awe the golden armoured Custodes can bring, for they represent the Emperor like no other. In the war against chaos, having that element of the Custodes as far and wide as possible is exactly what you want. However, I've gotta say it feels like that stage of the war could be past. And if we've learnt anything from Guilliman's counterattack and Chaos's victories, the time of the legions has returned. The war of the gods is here. The Emperor has burnt Nurgle's garden, declaring war on the ruinous powers themselves, and Khorne has now sent the first reply. A single squad or strike force of Custodes is no longer enough. They may have proven immune to anything chaos can throw at them, but a squad or two alone cannot fight off an entire fleet turned renegade, fallen to corruption. The Legion of Custodes, the 10,000, would never have fallen at all. The Custodes assembled en masse, alongside the Sisters of Silence, would be the greatest force the Imperium could wield. The one force the Imperium would never have to worry about turning or falling to corruption, for they have faced the Blood God's power itself, and they have stood tall. If it was the 10,000 deployed against Angron and Chaos's forces, the Imperium may never have lost at all. And so now, in this age where gods can turn a campaign or swing a battle on a whim, isn't it time the Imperium employs the perfect counter to that? The only counter to that. And the fact is, they already have it. They just need to use it. Again, the Grey Knights, while perhaps the best weapon the Imperium has in this particular war, are consigned to only chapter strength, while we know for a fact the Custodes have long returned to their full 10,000 numbers. The Sisters of Silence numbers are a little more vague and mysterious. However, it's likely they would number still into the thousands themselves. However, I admit I am fully guessing on that one. The fleet of the Custodes too is one of the most powerful and lethal bestriding the stars. Ancient vessels constructed from Terra and Mars itself, with access to technologies and knowledge most forces could only dream of. The Custodes fleet is absolutely formidable. Quite simply, the Talons of the Emperor are the strongest sledgehammer blow the Imperium has, if they use it. It's a punch that will always land, no matter the actions the ruinous powers may employ. You want an action from the Emperor, the 10,000 going to war will bring it. No, they don't worship the Emperor in faith. They do not call him a god. However, they are his legion. They have never turned, and they never will. There would be risks with this strategy for sure. Assembling the Talons in force would drastically limit their impact and visibility elsewhere in the galaxy. Battlefields and locations they could have otherwise perhaps made the difference on. Even a single custodian at the front of the line could turn a militarum force from a determined one to an unbreakable one. And there is their temperament to consider. Within the Dark Imperium novel, the Lord Commander Guilliman himself reflected upon the rage and anger that now courses through the Custodes. When Guilliman had returned to Terra, he had discovered a warrior brotherhood blinded by grief and duty, uninterested in anything that happened beyond the walls of the Imperial Palace. Crisis after crisis had battered the foundations of the Imperium, and the Adeptus Custodes had retreated further from view with each one. They had finally come out from behind the palace walls in large numbers, and now the pendulum had swung too far the other way. The Golden Warriors of Terra were in danger of being blinded by rage. Now, this isn't the same as Khorne's bloodlust, with obviously the Custodes being immune, but it does raise the possibility of hasty or incorrect actions. The key, as Guilliman described, blinded by rage. The force of the assembled might of the Talons would absolutely have to be wielded by a mind of not only a calm and rational manner, but also one of understanding, one who could understand and think along the base human lines they serve to protect, not one who has lost touch with that in the years behind the walls. And this is where Trajan Valoris is key. Within the Custodes, within him, the Custodes possess a commander not seen since Valdor himself. Trajan Valoris was preparing for the war to come long before it ever arrived. It was he who called the Sisters of Silence home to the throne world. He who sought to return the Talons of the Emperor to their former glory before Cadia had even fallen. Valoris was the man who accompanied Guilliman into the Emperor's throne room itself. It was he who worked with Guilliman behind the scenes to draw out the traitor High Lords of Terra. And it was Valoris who too assigned Colquhoun as liaison to Guilliman, to ensure a cautious eye remained over the Primarch at all times. Valoris is loyal to the Emperor over any other. He has proven to be a man of genuine intellect, with the thoughtfulness and presence of mind to think of the wider picture. And oh yeah, he just happens to be most likely the greatest warrior in the Imperium outside Guilliman and Del Johnson. And that is no small feat. If the Custodes were assembled in full might, it would be Valoris at its head. And beneath his leadership, I can't help but think they would be nigh on unstoppable. Most definitely the strongest force the Imperium could wield against the ruinous powers. So in this new age of gods, in this age of war where corruption of chaos knows no bounds, where the dark gods themselves can use their power to influence the field of war, is it not time the Imperium wields the one true force who could counter that? The Legion of the Emperor's Custodes. But as always everyone, what do you think? Do you think the Talons of the Emperor are better served spread out across the galaxy? Or should they be wielded en masse in force? With the corruption and influence of the Dark Gods more dangerous than ever, is it time to use the one true counter to that? With the Talons of the Emperor and the Grey Knights being the only forces immune to the Blood God's corruption, have they proven now more than ever how valuable a force they truly are? Should the Talons be used as a legion against the most dire of threats? deployed when chaos assembles the strongest of their forces, or when the portents of the darker gods acting comes to light. As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.